By joining us right now, the guy with the $1 million smile and the guy that played, and he played good when he was out there. He is a former Montreal Impact, Lloyd Barker. Lloyd, welcome, my man.
Great to be here, buddy. How are you?
I'm very good, and thanks so much for making the time again. Lloyd, I wanted to have you on because you're close to this situation. You live and breathe the Montreal Impact. You're around the club. You understand differences and squabbles between coaches and players. I want to hear from you. When you first heard about this all going down, what went through your mind? What did you believe in your heart before you found out the accurate information, what transpired?
I knew Didier wasn't going to start the match from the day before when it was announced. To be honest with you, obviously I didn't know that he was going to pull this stunt, and I don't think any of the players did. Certainly if they had any inclination of that, they would have been in total disbelief that he would actually follow through with the stunt that he pulled. The number one thing that came to my mind, though, when it actually transpired yesterday on game day was it's just bad timing. I just thought if you're going to pull a diva stunt like this, which Drogba clearly did, and there's no sense buttering the words here. I mean, it's a diva stunt that he pulled yesterday. It's a selfish act, and I just thought it was just bad timing. This game yesterday against Toronto FC meant so much. I mean, at the moment they're holding on for fifth place. I mean, they've made the playoffs, the Impact have, but now maybe it's sixth they finish. If they win that game yesterday against Toronto, they're 2 points behind Toronto, and maybe they're hunting third place. And all of a sudden, you know, it's a different situation going into that final game on Sunday. But now they're holding on to fifth place. It's possible they could drop to sixth place. I mean, obviously they'll still, they've clinched, like I said. But that game yesterday meant so much for this team right now, and I just thought it was just such a bad time for Didier Drogba to pull off such a stunt.
And I couldn't agree with you more. And this is how I look at it, Lloyd, and I'd like your take on it. First of all, I got to give a lot of credit to Coach Biello. He's had some big red onions to make this move. Good on Morrow to stand up and say, no, I'm the coach. I'll make the decision. I don't care about the name on the back of the jersey. I care about the name on the front, and I care about the city, and I care about winning. If he believed that he was not prepared to start mentally, physically, and he went with that decision and Didier couldn't accept it, shame on him, because this leaves a black eye on him. That's one. Two, I've watched the last 3 or 4 Impact games. Mancuso, to me, has looked real good. How do you take him out? You can't. Why not go back to doing a Piatti, Mancuso, Drogba and stick it out for 3-4 more games? Your thoughts, Lloyd?
Well, I mean, Didier Drogba didn't come here to sit on a bench. He's the star man. He's got 10 goals in 22 appearances, rather. And so those are more than respectable numbers for Drogba. 6 assists to go with that as well. But your point is spot on. And the fact is, this is a what have you done for me lately business. Drogba, of anyone, knows that. He's been around the game. He's played at the highest level. He knows what locker rooms are all about. And he knows his spot is no longer guaranteed, and that is because of the play of Matteo Mancosu. He offers a different presence when he's out there and Didier Drogba's not there. And look, the numbers don't lie. And Drogba, the 18 starts that he's made, they've only won 3 of those games. In 18 starts, when Drogba starts with this team, when he doesn't start, they've won 8 and lost just 3 of, I believe it's 15 games now. And so the numbers don't lie. It stacks against Drogba. But you don't want to take anything away from the big man because he's still productive. And why not come off the bench? I mean, yesterday when that game was 2-1, that would have been a perfect time to bring Didier Drogba off the bench. Maybe that affects Greg Vanney's thinking with substitutions, because the one thing that, I don't know if people will realize this, but Drogba not in the 18 is a huge difference than Drogba in the 18 sitting on a bench. I mean, you just have to ask Greg Vanney that. His work, his load, and his job, let's say then, literally, became a little bit more easier when Drogba took himself out of the team. Drogba on the bench changes the dynamic of your substitutions when you're an opposing coach, because you know he's going to come off the bench and he's going to make a difference. So at 2-1, Drogba would have been the perfect introduction to make that game 3-1, and now you're chasing Toronto to see for third place with a victory instead of giving up a late goal. And credit to Greg Vanney with that for bringing on Tessane and Tessane doing the job and getting a point and sending them home. But yeah, I mean, this whole thing with Drogba, mind-boggling, really, that this happened. I mean, and it takes away from Piatti, who had another fantastic game. It takes away from Matteo Mancosu, who, he didn't score, he didn't set up a goal, but he drew he won a penalty. And I think the one thing here, though, in defense of Drogba in all of this, I will say this. When Drogba is on the field, and I just said the numbers that it doesn't bode well when he starts, but when Drogba is on the field, it's not necessarily all his wrongdoing. It's the team around him that's not playing the way they generally prefer to do in a successful way. So when Drogba is out there, I tend to think that the presence that he has, this legendary status, I think it forces players to try to force balls into him when it's not necessarily the right pass. And so that's not Drogba's fault per se. That's just, I blame the rest of the guys around it. They go a long ball style. They just kind of pump it up. At least with Mancosu, that it's legitimate stretching the defense. So he plays it in the corner. He's going to get there. Drogba, it's a different setup when he's out there, and I tend to think that the players around him are just as guilty in how the team kind of shapes offensively when Drogba's on the field and when he's not.
So let me ask you this, Lloyd, as we let you go. You're a former player, and I tell you right now, if I'm Patrice Bernier, the veteran, the elder statesman of this squad, a proud guy, and a guy that would have never pulled a stunt like this, and Drogba walks into training tomorrow, do you pull him aside and give him a tongue lashing, or do you say, look, it's either this way or just basically pack up and leave us alone to try and win an MLS championship? You've been in there. I'm sure you experienced situations like this. As a former player, how would you have handled this?
Well, Patrice Bernier is as cordial as they come. As you know, one of the classiest of individuals in this game that I've ever come across. I suspect he will have a quiet word with Didier. They do have a strong relationship, that I know. But I think the situation speaks for itself. I don't think Didier Drogba needs anyone to tell him that he made a colossal blunder in doing what he did by pulling himself away from the team. It's selfish. It's irresponsible. He let the team down. And I'm not even talking about the city and the club. I'm talking his teammates. When you take yourself out of the equation to contribute in a match, a big match in a time like this, you've told your teammates, you know what, you guys are on your own. And that, for me, is letting the players down. Drogba doesn't need Bernier to come to him to give him a tongue lashing or anything. A simple look will suffice. But Drogba, he's been there. He's been in locker rooms. He's a Champions League winner. He's played in the World Cup. He's played at the highest level. He's a legend in the game. He will have known that he messed up big time.
Lloyd, it's great catching up with you. It's great getting your insight as a former player, and it's great once again to talk about, the Montreal Impact in a way that so many people are passionate about it in that city, passionate about winning and understanding that it's city and club first ahead of any player. We know that going way back when we saw Patrick Waugh traded away, the team comes before any player. So to me, it's great listening to your insight. Keep up the great work, and let's hope we can get together again once the playoffs kick off, Lloyd.
You got it, buddy. Have a great night.